Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about wedging clay. Now, if you're new to my channel, which you probably are, because this video literally is my first video, so hi, welcome. I make videos about throwing clay and everything clay related. I will be making videos also about wedging clay, that's today's video, clay tools, what you need, pinch pots. I will be doing throwing videos, sculpture, hand building, all, you name it, glaze making. But today's video specifically is about wedging your clay. If you're interested in staying tuned and staying up to date with my videos, feel free to subscribe. I will be trying to post something once a week at least until I get the ball rolling, and then I will be uploading more videos. So wedging your clay is one of the first things you're going to learn. If you take in a course at a college or a junior college or even a university, one of the first things, if you've never touched clay before, you're just learning, is how to wedge your clay. You may already know how to wedge your clay. So if you do, maybe you can go ahead and skip this video. If you already know how to wedge your clay, but you're just looking for a different way to do it, or techniques on how to wedge clay without hurting your wrists like I do. I have really weak wrists, or if you have arthritis, there's easier ways to wedge your clay. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the most common wedging, which is what I like to call ram's head. As you wedge it, it kind of looks like a little ram's head. There's also spiral wedging, which I'm terrible at, but I'm getting better at it. So I'll have a video on that eventually too. So I will show you what I've learned in order to wedge the clay without hurting my wrists, because my wrists are weak and my ankles are weak too. So I don't know. Luckily I don't have to wedge clay with my feet, although that'd be kind of fun to try. I'm just going to show you what I know and how to wedge clay. And so the reason we wedge our clay is because if you're just starting with like a fresh hunk of clay, or you're using recycled clay, a lot of the times the clay can have little air bubbles in it, or pockets, or it's lumpier and harder on one side and more wet on the other side. It dries unevenly sometimes. So we want to wedge our clay to make sure it's nice and smooth, nice and even textured, and it has no air bubbles in it. And one of the main reason you want to make sure that you don't have air bubbles in your clay is because once you fire it, the air likes to expand, and if there is nowhere for that little air bubble to go, it's going to find a way out. It's going to either make a little crack. Sometimes those little air pockets, if they're on the side of your piece, they can just pop off, or in the worst case scenario, the whole thing can just explode, which can happen if you have a big enough air pocket, or it's just a luck. Or if the stars are just not aligned for you, then your entire piece can just explode and destroy your piece and everyone else's piece around you if you're doing a community kiln, or if you have a kiln full of your stuff, and that is no bueno. Nobody wants that. So before we start today's video on how to wedge clay, one little trick I just wanted to tell you real quick. If you're a baker, if you like to make bread, kneading your bread is a lot like wedging your clay. So keep that in mind. At first, wedging can be a little bit tricky to get a hang of, and I like to say it's easy, but that's because I've been doing it for a while, so that's not really fair. But the first thing you're going to need is clay and a wire cutting tool, and that's it. That's all you need. And something to wedge it on. I have a board here that is wrapped in canvas. I made this myself. It's pretty easy to make. I can show you how to do that in another video. Right here, I already got a lump of clay that I recently wedged, and we're just, for the sake of this video, we're going to pretend we're cutting it off. So you got your wire tool here. I don't know if you can see that. You got these two ends, and then what I like to do is just kind of wrap it around my finger because I don't need that much wire, and I just cut it right off, and it comes right off. And there you go, you got a hunk of clay. We're gonna start small because that's a good place to start, good place to begin. You're not gonna be wedging huge mounds of clay for a while, I'm assuming. If you're just, so this might move as I'm wedging. I usually put this on the floor and wedge it there, but this is just a better angle to film everything at. So sorry that it's really messy. I just used it to recycle a bunch of really old clay, and I don't have plaster yet, which if you've been doing ceramics for a while, you know that clay will dry faster on plaster. And but this is a good alternative if you don't have plaster yet and you don't know how to set all that up. If you do, go ahead and wedge your clay on plaster, just because I think it's easier. A lot of times the clay will stick to the canvas because it is like a fabric. So what you're gonna start is you want to start with like just a nice lump of clay, and I'm gonna get it round just for the sake of it being easier to handle. You don't have to do that. You can just take it right out. But sometimes I like to bump in these little like grooves you see here, because air can get trapped in there and you don't want that. And you know, the more work you do on the clay, the less likely there's going to be an air bubble, but you don't also want to over wedge too. So first you take your hands, you got both hands on each side of it and your thumbs on the top, just like this. And what you're going to want to do is you want to push down at an angle slightly, and you're going to get this, you're going to start getting this shape here. Kind of looks like a skull already. And so what you do is you push down, and the ball of your thumbs is making that indent there, and the back of your hand is holding the clay like so. And when you push down, then you're going to bring it back up. And so you'll have more of a wedge there, hence the name. And this clay is a little dry, so it's kind of cracking a bit. But you will push the new roll down and do the same thing. And so you start getting these tiers like this. And you just keep doing that over and over. Bring it up, push it down at an angle away from yourself. Bring it up, push it down, bring it up, push it down. And you keep doing that over and over. This clay is really dry. It's cracking on me. It's also been really hot here lately, so the clay has been drying faster, so I need to use it. So you just keep doing this, and as you are doing this, you will notice that you're starting to get like these layers that look like they're wrapping around the clay. That's exactly what you want, because underneath those layers there potentially could be air bubbles, and we're pushing those out of there, and it's getting tightly compressed around the clay. And you just want to do it enough times that you feel like that, you know, you've gotten most of the clay. So you want to get those air bubbles out of there. And it would look nicer if I had some nicer clay, but this is what I got today. So when you feel like you're done, you will have like what my instructor told me looks like a ram's head or skull. And when you're done, when you have it on the wheel, you want to make sure that it's more of a cone or cylinder shape. So I like to get rid of this part here by then blending it. It's kind of like a nice little croissant. And depending on which way you're having your wheel, will be depending on which way you have it facing. And what I mean by that is, if your wheel is turning this way and it's coming into your hand, you want the clay to go with your hand, because clay has memory, and when a piece is drying, it will slowly untwist. So you want to keep going in the same direction that you've been wedging the clay. So I always think about it like, you know, we spin counterclockwise, so I put my left hand on here, and as long as the left was going like this, the layer, then that's right. Or, you know, if you're going the other way, it would be this way. So, and there we are. We have a ball of wedge clay, and that's pretty much the basic one. Now, this is what I do mostly, even with bigger balls of clay, because I have weak wrists. And so if you have weak wrists, or if you have arthritis, it's really, really, the hardest part is wedging your clay, and then also centering it, because that involves a lot of wrist work. And if your wrists are really, really weak or sore, or you have arthritis, then this could be a problem. So what I try to do is I try to find, it took me the longest time, but what I did is I found where in my arm there was the least amount of pressure. You just play with the clay for a while, and you know, maybe your strength is in your biceps. So use your biceps to pull it down, just your hands to like steady it, you know, lock up your arms, and you can do that instead of pushing so hard with your wrists. Ouch, because that hurts. So instead of using your wrists so much, just keep your arms straight and use the force of your biceps. Just keep your arms like locked and use your biceps to push down. And that's what I found works for me. It doesn't hurt my wrists anymore. I had the hardest time getting into ceramics because at first it was just too painful to even wedge the clay, and I was like, maybe this isn't for me. So just fiddle around with the clay until you find what works for you. Start here, you know, since that's what this video is about. There's the helper. Got distracted. And yeah, so that's how you wedge your clay. Pretty simple, at least from my perspective, because I've been doing this for a while. You'll get a hang of it. Just keep doing it over and over. And then we go from there to making pinch pots. That's the next step. So stay tuned for that video. So hopefully that video explained all the basics of wedging, just, you know, simple technique of the ram's head wedge, as I like to call it. And if I didn't explain something or you have questions, just comment down below and I'll try to take a look at them and answer them, and maybe in the future make a more explanatory video or another video. And if you have any recommendations, feel free to comment, and I look forward to seeing you guys again in the next video. All right, bye-bye. Crap, what was I talking about? Explanatory. I don't know, I need food. I'm making this video all day. I'm so hungry, I can't even think. Yeah, my mind's blank. Menu, okay, oh, contact lens is going somewhere. Okay. So hopefully that video explained the basic, you know, words. I speak English. Speak sign language. American Sign Language, did you know that? I just got a TikTok for this. I'm busy, leave me alone. Alright, take 15. Not really, it's like take 3, but still, we'll get there. Hi, welcome back to my channel. First, wedging can kind of be a little bit tricky to get a hang of. Where's the camera? There it is. Okay. I have no idea where I'm looking. How'd you find your way in here?